Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching Pazur playing in the Tier 9 non-turreted British tank destroyer. It is the Tortoise, a favourite of mine to feature on this channel because it's just capable of some completely wacky things. Now why is that? Well, as the name would suggest about the tank, it's very well armoured frontally. However, that didn't used to be the case. Before, several patches ago, Wargaming had this as more of a glass cannon damage per minute monster. However, I guess they decided that it needed a little bit of love, and they buffed the armor of this tank significantly, even to the point where the weak point on top of the vehicle that you can see here is only truly a weak point right in the center. If you hit outside here and you hit outside here, then it's got pretty much about 280 millimeters of effective armor. I'm not sure I agree with that. I like it when weak points are weak points on vehicles, even when they're not some kind of Japanese heavy. And I think that the changes to the Tortoise were a little bit crazy. However, we're just going to have to see what Pazur is able to do with them inside this game. Alright, so Pazur has decided that he is going to hold the choke point of this archway here. He's playing on the relatively new, at least with regards to the European server, Empire's border map, the Great Wall of China, dividing this map in two right along the center. And his team have decided to push along the south, and his artillery are managing to provide some quite forward support fire, I guess having played this map a few times to try and hit the center. Now, Pazur has quite rightly decided to not push, and he's telling the Centurion 7-1 to forget it as he's making his way out into the open. Now, why would that be? Well, of course, there's 3 enemy self-propelled guns, and there's a lot of sneaky Soviet medium tanks that are going to be waltzing their way along that northern flank. Alright, so the 2 misses, they were not misses, but ricochets against the 430, brutal stuff, and the Object 430 actually manages to put one in from behind. Okay, behind, shall I say, the STG. The STG, very much more of a glass cannon kind of tank, but the 430, and a side-scraping monster. I really got to start to play that tank a little bit more, ever since they moved it down from tier 10 to tier 9 and gave it the 390 alpha damage. It truly just seemed like a monster of tier 9 Soviet mediums, but then again, most of the tier 9 Soviet medium tanks are monsters. Luckily for Panzer is the fact that the M4043 on the enemy team has already been vanquished. That's great stuff. Looks like that was done by the Bat Chatillon 15558 on Panzer's team. And their artillery are literally the bane of the Tortoise. Any vehicle which relies on its armor and has very low mobility is going to be prey to those enemy self-propelled guns. And so now that one of them is out of the game already, it's starting to look a little bit better for him. The STG has got fed up of bouncing rounds off the front of the Tortoise and is now loading the gold and firing APCR rounds. One thing that's interesting now is that Pazur is actually getting flanked by lightly armoured fast vehicles like the Scorpion. However, it ricochets off the back. The Scorpion seems to think twice about launching himself down on top of the Tortoise, as in fact this vehicle weighs 80 tons. But the ELC 90 isn't going to be thinking twice about it. Now the Scorpion puts one round into the top of the Tortoise, taking off a quarter of its hit points, and this is just not really where you want to be in this tank, right? You're being flanked by little auto-loading light tanks, and wow, he's really got a design on top of that vehicle. I need to think about putting some of the decals on mine, although it's quite expensive, but I don't really need to worry about that now that I got so much gold after opening up all those loot boxes last year. My word, I can't quite get used to it being 2019 yet. I just got back from being in France where I was skiing for the second time in my life, having an absolute amazing time, but back to the tanks now. Alright, so it looks like Pazur just completely ignores the ELC even 90 because he's playing too well. The ELC actually sets Pazur on fire, and Pazur decides to turn his armor towards him to absorb the third shell from the even 90. He kills the Scorpion G and now turns his attention to the Object 430, realizing that the tier 8 French auto-loading light tank, which has a long magazine reload time, is not going to be a threat just for now. However, I guess he's feeling that the light tank is going to be reloading, and so he turns his attention towards him, but that ELC even 90 on the enemy team is playing a fantastic role. So big respect to, who is it? Maximilian on the enemy team. You are doing a great job of showing how to deal with a Tortoise. Alright, so the ELC even 90 literally just harassing Panzer here, and this is where I hate playing the Tortoise, and I hate playing non-turreted tanks, because good players in smaller vehicles will be able to make fun of you. However, it doesn't quite look like it's maybe going to... Whoa, that was a cool move. Did you see the even 90 just bounce the rear of his vehicle up along the wall? But oh wait, is this going to be a great moment for Pazur here? He puts one into the top turret at the even 90, decides to ram him a little bit, doesn't want to allow him to get behind him. And there you go. Okay, the annoying French little monster is dealt with. And for a split second there, Pazur was in a 1 versus... Is that 8 situation, including 2 self-propelled guns? Alright, well, now with the French light tank vanquished, Pazur is now going to be having to deal with 7 enemy vehicles. So what is he going to do with 132 hit points? Pretty much in this scenario, everybody thinking all is lost, right? You'd be kind of giving up. You'd be thinking, whatever, I'll just see what I can do as I go out, and then I'm going to be able to see what I can do in my next tank. But not Pazur. Look at this. He says, I've got this in chat, and starts by whacking in 2 rounds into the T-34. And even though they were both low rolls, it doesn't seem to matter, as the wild rate of fire of the Tortoise manages to finish him off. The T-49 bounces a heat round, a standard heat round, off the front of the Tortoise there. Just an absolute joke to fire that. You got 152 millimeters of penetration on that 152 millimeter caliber gun. It's not going to go too well, and a 1 versus 8 now becomes a 1 versus 5. But the E100 on the enemy team was on pretty much 3/4 of his hit points, but not for long when you sit in front of a vehicle with 3,400 DPM. And oh, that's a good roll! Talking about the Object 704 earlier, Pazur rolls for over plus 10%, and the RNG seems to be turning into his favor. The E100 trying to compensate for skill by just dabbing the 2 key here, and you can see that the Tortoise does very well against auto-aiming gold noobs. And the E100 now aims for the weak point. However, it looks like it's going to be a little bit close neck. The E100 has to hit this shell. He fluffs the shot, and Pazur is able to finish off the tier 10 German heavy tank. Oh my word. Well, talk about living up to your words, right, Pazur? Not only can he talk the talk, it looks like he can also walk the walk, ladies and gents. Oh my goodness. Now the 1 versus 8 into a 1 versus 3, and all of that done within a 1 shot. Now, look, obviously Pazur got quite lucky there, but that's the thing is, he played also perfectly. The way that he was wedging his tank up the side here to increase his armor, increasing his gun depression, I believe, just made all of his plates much more effective on the upper part of the armor, and made that weak point on top of the tank just so much harder to hit. Pazur is actually asking his team, and this is an example of great communication, to tell, he wants to know what the Type 4 Heavy is on. And this is an opportunity for somebody to actually be very useful in a game if you're sitting there and watching a kind of a glorious replay like this. Provide useful information. Don't spam the map. Don't tell them what to do. They're carrying you, for goodness sake. However, if they ask, hey, what's the Type 4 Heavy on, guys? If it's a 1 shot and you know it is, say it, because that's really going to help Pazur know to fire APCR and not to be firing high explosive squash head ammunition or anything like that, to be able to finish off the Type 4 Heavy. And oh my word, now things are starting to look pretty tense. Under 9 minutes into this game, Pazur has already picked up 8 kills, dealt 8,200 damage in a tier 9 tank destroyer, and now there's only 2 self-propelled guns between him and a glorious comeback. When, you know, I think I like to fight it out until I manage to win, but I would have probably even given up at that scenario. So Pazur, massive shout out to you for sticking with it. Alright, so Pazur is loading high explosive squash head ammunition with 510 alpha damage, so he rolls 50-50 there to take out the GW Tiger, who narrowly misses Pazur's tank, and even a splash anywhere near the vehicle would have been enough. Bold moves by the GW Tiger there. I guess very frustrated with the fact that Pazur was in a safe hold-down location, unable to be shot by any self-propelled guns unless they make their way up to the extent of the map here, or alternatively make their way probably towards the outside here. And I think that's why Pazur was working his way around the edges to see if he could spot the self-propelled guns if they did manage to go that way, and alternatively from here if he managed to spot them if they were trying to sneak away there. Alright, so now, 6 minutes left on the game, and Pazur says, dude, it's only 6 minutes! The E100 says, no cap, and then Pazur says, no way I can make it. Well, I think the adrenaline might be running a little bit too much, because while this vehicle is definitely not the fastest tank in the game, in fact, it's probably the joint slowest, apart from the TOG. Can you even consider the TOG in a running race with something like that? I still think at 20 kilometers an hour, Pazur has got a good chance to make it towards the enemy cap circle. Alright, so right now, what would I be thinking if I was in Pazur's tank? I'll be thinking, alright, well, if I get too far away from my cap circle and that Conqueror gun carrier manages to waltz his way into it, oh, he's going to be able to cap out. And so there's going to be this point where you've reached an area where there's no longer an opportunity for you to go back, and you're only going to be able to push forwards, and that's the danger zone for a tank like this. And it's one of the worst things about streaming as well, because if you're playing against someone who knows what they're doing, then they're just going to wait for you to leave the cap circle and get far enough away that you can't manage to get back within the 1 minute and 40 seconds it takes to cap, and then roll their way into it. And Pazur clearly knows this as well. He says, I hope he starts capping our base while he was close, because he could have gone back and been able to finish him off. But now he's reached that point where you can't go back. It's only forwards right now. And with 4 minutes and 14 seconds left on this game, it's starting to get rather nerve-wracking stuff. All right, so Pazur, what do you want to think about right now? Well, I can't imagine what would be going through my mind, just adrenaline, thinking like, where is the artillery likely to be hiding? Would the artillery be down in the valley here? Would the artillery be sneaking a snaky shot up here? I'll tell you one thing that happened to me is I actually had an artillery set up a fantastic ambush in the location over here. An artillery wedged himself up into this bush. He went all the way around here, sat in this bush, and actually there was one around here as well. And he sat in this bush and waited for me to come through here, and then absolutely annihilated me in the side. That was some brutal stuff. I'm kind of getting a bit nervous here for Pazur, whether that's going to be happening with him in a heartbreak. Can you imagine being in this situation where you've got 9 kills, you've got 132 hit points, and you've had those for the last 7 tanks that you've taken care of? You've ricocheted probably about 7,400 damage blocked. Oh my lord, the Tortoise just doesn't give a monkey's. And now, just having this awful nerve-wracking moment where there's nothing that you can do if the enemy tank starts capping. This is why I hate non-turreted and tank destroyers, and why I hate slow-moving vehicles, because for me it's just incredibly frustrating. Nevertheless, for people who like them and people who've got patience, like Pazur by the looks of it, if you manage to think through the battle and play it like a game of chess, then I think that it can work out very well. Oh, my word. Okay, so this is where it starts to get really dirty. 2 minutes and 25 seconds left. Pazur's got pretty much 30 seconds now, 40 seconds actually, to make it into the cap circle. As long as he starts capping with 1 minute and 40 seconds left, he's going to be A-OK to win this game. But remember, as I was telling you during one of my Panhard replays on the channel recently, he needs to be capping for 5 seconds before the enemy artillery reaches the cap circle, if of course the enemy artillery is going for it. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, he's safe. Doesn't matter if the artillery enters the cap circle. He's going to be able to cap this one out. Alright, so where is the artillery likely to be hiding? He's loading a high explosive squash header, and oh my word, there you go! The Conqueror gun carriage was doing the same thing, trying to sneak his way around the map, trying to cap it out. Luckily, can you imagine if Pazur hadn't moved immediately, and if he'd been 20 seconds slower, he would be completely screwed right now with nothing to do. But now this is just a horrible moment. I feel like these last 6 minutes have just been lose, lose, lose for Pazur, even though he's done everything right, pretty much. Now it's just coming down to the RNG gods, because the artillery is clearly going to try and splash Pazur, and if he manages it, he's going to win the game. Now the Conqueror gun carriage will be able to reload one more time. Now this is an interesting moment. A lot of people I see tell me, oh, go and sit where the artillery last fired, because the artillery is never going to fire again there. Let me give you one of my #1 tips as where to never sit in the cap circle in one of these scenarios. Here. Never sit here. That's where I would blind fire if I was an artillery, because otherwise it's just pot luck. So 20 seconds left. The enemy artillery shell is going to be coming in soon. Where's it going to hit? And there it is! Look, the artillery! It looks like lightning does actually strike twice. And if Pazur had moved to where the artillery last fired, he would have actually been splashed and interrupted. But that's it! Pazur shuts down the game, winning a 1 versus 8 on 132 hit points. Just simply ludicrous stuff here for the Tortoise, and a perfect round for a non-turreted TD. So while Pazur doesn't pick up the 10th kill to secure the Pools medal, he does get a Radley Walters medal for those 9 kills, a Kolobanov's medal, the one that everybody wants for standing alone against at least 5 in this Case 8, a Spartan medal for ricocheting with less than 10% of his hit points, a Steel Wall medal, and this was a real Steel Wall medal, 7,460 damage blocked with the Tortoise's armor, an Invader for capping out, a High Caliber for 8,707 damage dealt. That would be incredible for a tier 10 tank destroyer, let alone a tier 9 tank destroyer, and Pazar even manages to make a decent profit with or without a premium account. And the cherry on top is that this was Pazar's first mark of excellence. However, I expect if you keep playing it like that, you're not going to just smash 2, you're going to get your 3rd as well. So Pazar, congratulations to you. Thank you so much for uploading this on the WOT Replays website, and also by getting my attention and putting my name in the title of your upload. I appreciate it, and thanks for showing everybody how to handle a stressful endgame situation, and to show that you should never give up. Sure, I'm not going to promise you just because you never give up that you're going to have incredible rounds like this. This was definitely a 1 in 10 scenario, even when you're playing like a god like Pazar was. But if you keep trying and trying and trying and never give up, and you combine your skill with also a good helping of luck, yeah, eventually you can have a legendary game. Anyway, ladies and gents, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And as I'm back from holiday, if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for the first World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase of 2019 on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. Right now, I'm going to be playing through to the T57 Heavy all the way up the line, because the most of you voted for it out of the 630 total votes. So come along right now as I showcase the entirety of the T57 Heavy tech tree, so you can see if it's a line that's worth grinding, or alternatively, if you already have some of the tanks, maybe you're having a few problems in a couple of them, maybe pick up a few tips and tricks. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.